I was researching this too about like this whole quiet quitting thing, and it seems like people that quietly quit feel like they're underdeveloped, that they're not being developed. And this is a really interesting thing, because I actually sent this out to my team recently, and it was two critical questions, because I think people can just kind of keep going. That's part of quiet quitting, right? You don't leave your job. You're just not enthused. So I asked the question. I think that this is something that leaders that are listening could use as well. How do you need to develop in your leadership this year? I think you have to turn the question on the person, because a lot of times we talked about this in the recent podcast. We're trying to do diagnoses of, a particular area and stuff like that without asking really good questions. And sometimes people say, well, I don't feel like I'm developed. So you'll say, okay, well, what does that look like for you? Well, I don't know. Well, then how do you know you're not being developed, right? You could be getting developed. And then the question is, how can I help you develop then, after you come up with that process? I think these things are really good, because it makes you have loud leadership instead of quiet quitting. You're audible. You're asking the question, and you're holding people accountable to answer. So you got anything you want to say?
No, I just think, the closer you get with someone and the more time you spend with them, if you're the leader or the manager, you're going to see things, and you may think, well, that probably could be an area of growth in that person's life. Yeah. But it could be extremely simple or, small. And so it's like, we can spend I want you to develop me, and yet it's like, well, for you right now, it's just showing up on time. Yeah. So I don't know, do we need a book on how to not be late? I don't know, or we need to work through a book together or whatever no, it's just, this is your thing right now. Beat it in this season. Yeah. That can be development.
Or and I think, to really divert this quiet quitting is that you have to constantly put responsibility and ownership on people. Yeah. That it's also your responsibility to grow yourself.
Do we need to start this podcast over? Because are we sounding angry?
We're not angry. We're focused.
I love it.
I have a responsibility to develop myself. You're my boss, right? Pastor John's my boss. I cannot come to him every week and say, hey, can you develop me? I have a responsibility to read books, listen to podcasts, go to conferences, pick up things that are going to develop me so that I can add value to the organization. And if you hear any tension in our voices about this, is that I feel very passionate about this subject, because ultimately, as a person that has staff and has a team, I'm working hard to make sure that their lives are good, that their paychecks are on point, and that people are served well. So I do feel personally responsible and passionate. So if you feel some passion about it, it's like, I don't want people to quietly quit. I want people to enjoy the cause as much as I do. Because I never wake up, not one day in my life do I wake up and say, man, I have no purpose in my life. And that's a blessing to me. And I want more people to wake up and feel like I got something to live for.
I agree. I agree. And I just think it's wrong to blame and make excuses in any area of your life. If you don't feel like you're where you should be, don't blame your manager. Don't blame your boss. Don't blame your pastor. Man, there's so many resources out there and so much that you can do to develop yourself. I just want to ditto what you're saying. Not to throw off the responsibility that I would have to help you grow as a leader, because I feel that. But, so much of it is self-motivation. It's discipline and self-initiative. And so,
I'm looking at it, our mission statement here on the wall. We're one church in many locations, dynamic, spirit-filled, and diverse, serving people, developing leaders. It's literally in my job description to fulfill that. But I have responsibility as well to be involved in that.